on American Experience.
Women had been at this for decades. The movement was going nowhere.
There are severe disagreements about tactics and strategy.
Carrie Catt is a pragmatic politician.
Alice Paul says, I'm going to try different things. We're going to blow this wide open.
The fight over the right to vote has always been about power and who has it and who doesn't want to give it up.
The conclusion of the vote on American Experience.
I wanted to do a quick round robin and get your initial reaction. I was struck yet again how forceful and profound this movement was, especially at this time in this moment of another uprising for rights. So I'll just, as I see you on here, a quick round robin. I'll start with Meredith.
Yes, I think it is very timely that we are revisiting a lot of the same issues that we were looking at 100 years ago. And I think the intersection of racial injustice and gender oppression and all the rest is coming to the fore because we are realizing more and more that only a certain percentage of the population has a real voice, and we got to broaden that so it's more representative. So, I mean, it's been going on since the founding of this country, when the colonial founding of this country, and we're seeing it more and more, and we've just got to break those bonds that a lot of us are held by.
What about you, Martha?
Well, I was struck by the fact that nothing has changed in 100, 150 years in terms of what actually gets stuff done. And what it still is, despite social media, despite all of the distractions, is getting in the streets. And that is how the suffragists finally picketing the White House and being in the streets is finally what tipped the balance. And they did it all over the country. And look at what we're in today. I know most of you don't remember 1968, but I barely do.
Right.
Being in the streets was what did it. For the progress we made then, stopping the Vietnam War, that was done in the streets. So I was struck by the fact that today the same thing is happening as we speak.
Pamela, what about you?
As I looked at that film, I was really struck by how long it actually took to get this amendment passed. It was 72 years. And I hadn't thought about it much in terms of time until I watched this movie. But the other thing that really struck me is that once they hit a road in the bump in 1870, when we saw an amendment passed, the 15th Amendment passed, the divide that became and arose between Black women and white women was really disheartening. Instead of getting closer together, I saw this pushing further apart. And I hadn't realized how strong that was until I got a chance to see that on the film.
I didn't realize how early it started till I watched it. What about you, Sylvia?
Well, I thought the snippet of the film that we saw was really good in conveying the whole trajectory of the suffrage movement in many ways. And not only that, how it brought in different voices. So one of the things that struck me is that they did talk about the women who were opposed to suffrage. I almost said abortion, but I mean to suffrage. And the reasons those women had, and the reason that struck me is because when we were up at the state capitol in February to celebrate the ratification of the suffrage amendment in New Mexico, we had a table for the Equal Rights Amendment. And a woman came up to us and started talking about what it is that we wanted to do and why. And we talked with her for a little while. And then when we said, well, do you want to sign up so you can get more information from us? She says, no, I'm not interested. I'm not for the ERA. And then she walked away and she would not answer the why. And it's just that kind of thinking that I think many times puts us in conflict with each other. Although I know that women in general have a whole panoply of ideas and of things that they need to get done that come across, go across borders, across political parties and such. So how the women in the suffrage movement worked, even though they worked in parallel sometimes, Carrie Chapman Catt on one side, Alice Paul on the other, the Black women through the Black women's clubs were working for suffrage too. Zitkala Sa for Native American suffrage rights. So, and Mabel Pink Wally, the Chinese young woman who was an immigrant, and yet she worked for suffrage. So even though we have different and sometimes parallel lanes, we're all pushing towards the same objective. And I think that really works in the end for our benefit. It'd be better if we work together, but if we all push, in the same direction, even in parallel lanes, generally, I think we can accomplish what we need to do.
And Sylvia, actually, it's interesting as I learned doing the podcast, you can hear in the first episode, the West was way ahead of the rest of the country in granting suffrage. Now, as we also find out, there's some really distasteful reasons why that was true. And it had a lot to do with empire and white supremacy and getting white women out West. But anyway, New Mexico had a fairly different trajectory. And Hispanic women were really involved here. They were actually quite key to making this happen. Sylvia, who are a couple of the very famous, most important women here, Hispanic women?
I think in terms of the Hispanic women, certainly Adelina Otero Warren or Nina Otero Warren, and Aurora Lucero, who happened to be cousins, actually. They were both related to Solomon Luna, who was a very powerful Republican leader in the territorial legislature. So those two women, I think, were very important, especially as of 1914, which is when the Congressional Union came into town.
That's Alice Paul's group.
That's correct. Otero Warren had worked in 1910 during the Constitutional Convention to try to get suffrage in the Constitution. And all that she and women in the club movement could get was suffrage in terms of being able to vote for school boards and such. They couldn't get voting rights for anything else, but they were willing to settle for that at that point because they knew that they needed to push farther in the future. But having one step in the door is better than having no foot in.